Good evening, one and all. On my own today, Sal's at home. I'm at Claymills Pumping Station, which is currently open this evening as part of the Heritage Open Days. And I've been here many times, been members for years. But they're open now between 1800 and 21 or 6 until 9 for the more traditional view. And I'm hoping to get some photos in the dark, in the low light conditions, just for something a little bit different. Somewhat laden down this evening without Sal with me. So I've got a tripod on the one arm and Steadicam in this hand and mic strapped to me and all such like. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some decent photos and say hello to some old friends. Now, up until the 1900s, everything here was lit by gas. And then this engine was installed along with a dynamo, because this was a DC supply. And the dynamo's up the end here. You can see health and safety is finally in action. Guards, mate, what are they for? So originally it was powered by this single cylinder engine made by Thornley's of Burton-on-Trent with an open frame dynamo in 1889. Look at that. The Science Museum tell us this is probably the oldest working one still in the country. And in 1906 they needed another one, and they put a twin cylinder high pressure engine in. It was actually built entirely here in 1906. So the older one, the big one we look at here, that whacked out 50 amps, which to be fair is not a lot when you think that your house incoming main has got 30 amps, depending on the strength of your supply. And the second one they put in was 30 amps. So the smallest set those to run during the day, and the large ones in the evening. So there's the newer dynamo set down there. And this is the engine that used to make that all happen. There's about still little oil drip feeders for it there. If I come around the front, we'll be able to see, there we go, twin cylinders, vertical mounted. And every time I come here, I absolutely love this display here. I don't know what it is about it, but I absolutely love it. I think it's the big Frankenstein style, big levers there. He lives. And one of my favourite things here, I've got lots of favourite things here, is this fabulous sign, which I'll photograph. It's a bit dark in here. That basically warns you that if someone touches the electricity supply, turn it off before collecting the body, because DC is a bit nasty. It grabs you and doesn't let go. Well, I didn't expect to see this here today, but I've just been told it's only just come back. Belongs to one of the life members here, and the hope is to get it running. That's an ambition. A portable engine. What a glorious thing. Because everybody thinks that all these things were just, driving around the roads and traction engine style, but that often wasn't the case. They were quite often used literally as a portable engine. So it was on wheels, so it could get it places, but it never really was designed to drive itself about. Just around the corner we come to the agitator engine. And the idea of this was that as the slurry, because this was for getting rid of Burton's smellier waste, was that this had a continuous belt drive on it that went down into the incoming pit. It's not very easy to see at the moment. Maybe if I just go down there a little bit and go that way. Yeah, it's not very easy to see. But the idea was that this went down with some paddles and literally kept things stirred up so nothing settled too solid, so that it could then be pumped away. So again, a beautiful piece of engineering. The saying goes, don't make them like that anymore, but that was its purpose, was literally to agitate the incoming items. I think we'll leave it at that. We'll take a wander into the C-D engine house. Obviously Corby had engines C and D in it, and this is the lower level. The engines are upper floor, but this was the whole purpose of the whole station, really. So if I get myself down there, these were the pumps. It is very low lighting, I appreciate. one here and one just to my right. I'll not make you all dizzy. And you can see hopefully that up here are some very shiny shafts that go up and through the floor levels, and that humongous bearing you can see there is indeed the bottom of one of the engines. So we'll go upstairs and have a look around that. But so the whole purpose of this building was just to pump sewage. And if I'm not overly mistaken, and it is of course entirely possible I am, these two cylinders you can see here, I think were surge vessels. The idea was that if you suddenly move a lot of liquid very fast, you can get some quite nasty hydraulicking that can damage things. So these acted as damping chambers, if you like. If I turn out to be incorrect in that, I'll let you know. As we come into CD engine house, we look to the left. There's a display here of patterns. And of course, something like this you can just nip down to Screwfix and get yourselves a 3/8 Grimley. If you needed it, mate, best you be able to make it. So there's all sorts of castings or patterns down here for bearings and gears and even nuts and bolts. Craftsmanship like that, it still exists in some places, but let's be fair, it's largely speaking a dying art. As you can imagine, it's knocking on for 7 o'clock now, halfway through September, and I'm inside a building that's lit by not a huge number of lamps. And here we go up into the top of CD engine house, and they are engines C and D. Absolutely beautiful pieces of engineering. We just simply don't build stuff like that anymore. Made by Gimson & Co, 1885. Absolutely beautiful. All the valve handles here, if you knew what you were doing, you could actually start this thing working by pushing down on the appropriate handles, which control the steam in and out at the right time. Over on this side, we have the other engine that's up here. Pretty much its twin. The expansion joints up there to allow for, funnily enough, the expansion, and everything polished within its life. Your car engine doesn't really care where you try and start it, 4 cylinders, and it doesn't need to be in a particular place to start, but these big single cylinder engines are a very different matter. And you had to make sure that the cylinder was in the correct place, or rather the piston was in the correct place within the cylinder. Otherwise all sorts of nasty horrible things happened, generally expensive nasty horrible things. So how do you rotate something, well, you can see how big this thing is behind me. That has got to be, I mean, I'm 6'3", I'm guessing that's a good 20-foot diameter wheel. 6 point something meters if that's your thing. Well, let's find out how that happened, and for that we need a barring engine. Anyhow, typical Victorian thrift, why build two when one will do the job? So the barring engine goes up here, the bigger cog on the right goes across to D engine, and the little one just behind it goes to C. So we follow that across all the way here, past the very lovely brass plaque that tells us Gimson & Co, 1885 are the makers, and past these very bright lights, we come across over to this side. If I move around here, past the revolution counter, those end up engaging in there, which is a little dim, I'll appreciate at the moment. Let's try and get my torch on the subject. But there's some kind of teeth you might be able to see there if I get a better spotlight on. So that kind of notched its way up there and slowly, oh so slowly, turn the piston within the cylinder to the right position for startup. So I come back here a little bit more. There's the governor in all its glory. Bring back a little bit further, try not to fall down anything. The crown gear is down inside there. Let's get the torch out again. Crown gear is down inside there, and that indeed would rotate and control things. Simple and effective. Right, we are now going to go up another level. These stairs aren't quite so bad. They're sort of straight, followed by a 90-degree, followed by a straight. So I should hopefully manage this without doing myself too much damage. And here we are at the top of the engines. Here we are then. Everything up here is beautiful. The weights here, you can see 4 weights there. They go down to those handles downstairs to control valve opening and closing, so they make things happen. And of course, you've got 2 engines downstairs. You've got 2 sets of controls. And from up here, we get a bit of an idea about the scale of the place. It is truly impressive. Onwards, we will go up another level. So far I've been quite lucky and not got caught up in any of the guided tours. I'm trying to keep out of everybody's way. We go up another flight of stairs. Ooh, definitely gloomy up here. And there are the beams of said beam engines. And this is what turned the rotary, the up and down motion of the engines into the motion required for the pumps, i.e. up and down. And these beams are absolutely humongous. I'm given to understand they're kind of bolted together on site. Everything about them is really, really being well looked after. There's a rather beautiful crane above me. I'll turn and look at that for you in a moment. And there's something about this floor which we've got no hope of seeing today. But apparently, in the right light, these cast sections, through which of course you can see absolutely straight down to the floor below us, have actually got letters kind of cast into them. So when you took these up to get things up and down, let's say there's a crane just there, you knew which order to put them back in. But you need just the right light from the right direction, and I'm guessing that's not created by 8 o'clock in the evening. So there you go, the 2 beams. I'm going to stop, get some photos. The light's rather nice up here at the moment. Normally got bright light streaming through the windows. So we'll get some photos, we'll add those to what we've got. On our way round, we come across E Engine House now. I've been coming here long enough to remember when this wasn't here. And E Engine House now contains a collection of sorted engines they have acquired over the years. Some that were originally here and some that weren't. And as far as I'm aware, they're all in working order. So we've got things like stormwater pumps and all sorts of other little engines. There's a large collection. My claim to fame is many years ago, as a member here, I actually got to drive and operate that engine there, and I was like the biggest kid on the planet. As we move around, we've got some other engines here, and little portable things. And here is another example, if I move around, oops, clunky forward and this way. This is another example of a portable engine. It used to, if I turn around. As I say, everybody seems to think these are all, traction engines and trundle around fields. And they weren't. They were designed to be dragged to where they were needed to be, and made to work generally by a belt running off of that was in great big pulley. And never did really have any motive ability of their own. That was it. They were sort of the modern day version of a portable generator, I guess. Just not overly portable. Earlier on I did mention some surge vessels. The idea, say, is to stop things going bang. And there was obviously a pressure cycle, as this was an up and downy pump. One of the things that's worth looking at in here, and it's all worth looking at, I'll go up a little bit. In shot now, bang in the centre, those wooden blocks you can see going up on poles, that's the original crankshaft that used to make everything go in the right times. So, yeah, not quite the same size as your average car, but that indeed is one of the crankshafts. And if my orientation is right, I think that will be C engine, with D engine to my left. And something else a little bit unique. Down here, and we can't go down today, it's off limits at the moment. This goes down to baths, communal baths, where workers and indeed families could make use of the abundant hot water this place provided, and benefited from lots of heat, lots of hot water. I have no idea what the water looked like when they'd finished. It's a bit like the old things you see in football clubs now, one humongous, sort of about 8 foot square, 3 foot deep thing. Can't imagine what colour the water would have been afterwards. And of course, you can't have steam engines without steam. And this is where all that used to happen, and indeed still does on steaming days. I've got some lovely photos here and some video, in fact, of a sprinkler stoker system. Early automatic sprinkling system. So we've got 2 feeds to each boiler. And so these were chain driven by a long shaft that runs across each. I'll get you one of those later on. This would go up to a belt drive system. In fact, there is one there for you. So that belt there goes around that pulley, different diameters to control the speed of things, of course, and it goes up to a shaft at the top that makes it all happen. So there you go. Everything happening here. The place to be in winter, maybe not quite the place to be in summer. Automatic system for sprinkling. That doesn't mean they fill themselves up, of course. Over behind me at the moment, they're doing sort of tidy up mode. This is normally stacked up well and truly with coal. Bit of a problem at the moment because there's concerns about emissions and such ever. And of course coal's getting very expensive, particularly the stuff that burns more cleanly than this place normally would. But there you go. Again, if we were on one of the private tours, or indeed if I came here just as a member, you can actually go up here, around to the back, and there's a walkway across the top there to a thing known as the economisers. And they help to make everything more efficient by scavenging some heat off of everything. And up there we've got a lovely little plaque, if I can get it in focus, that tells us John Thompson of Wolverhampton. And of course everything's got its own gauge. Pounds per square inch, obviously, none of this bar stuff, pounds per square inch. It's well and truly got dark out there, so I think it's time for me to head off home and let these good people go home. Yeah, pleased not to have gotten in anyone's way. Nice to be back here, say hello to a few people we know. Time to go and do some editing. And, oh my word, it has gotten dark, hasn't it? Well, I'm planning to be back here in a couple of days' time when they are returning to steam, I believe, A engine for the first time in 50-something years. And when we first came here, they weren't sure whether they're going to keep C and D restored and running, and A and B as kind of, this is what it used to look like. And over the years, they've actually managed to get all 4 in a steamable condition. And as a sort of members perk, we have been invited to the inaugural steaming of the final engine and see it running. So hopefully I'll come back then and get that for you as well. As ever, any acts or acts and omissions, errors, faults, whatever, entirely my fault. Please feel free to put them in the comments below and put me right. If you're in the Burton-on-Trent area, I can heartily recommend this as a place as a day out. It is certainly good for 3 or 4 hours, entirely run by volunteers, and you won't regret spending time here. And of course, if you're into photography, bring yourself a tripod. This place is awesome. Until next time, take care.